Early voting has already started, and there are now less than 4 days until Election Day. And, gone are the days of simple ad campaigns on TV when it came to the presidential election. Voters have so much vying for their attention, and they can actually curate how they get their information on candidates through social media.
Yeah, it tells us how things like Instagram, here to tell us how things like Instagram and TikTok and X are influencing the election is Dr. Marcus Collins, assistant professor at marketing at the University of Michigan. He wrote a book called For the Culture. Joining us.
Yeah, For the Culture, the power behind what we buy, what we do, and who we want to be. Dr. Collins, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
There's a whole lot to unpack here, so we're trying to wrap our brains around all of this. I want to set the stage a little bit first because we're talking about culture, capital C, lowercase c. What do you mean when you say culture?
I think about culture through a sociological lens, particularly through a gentleman by the name of Emile Durkheim, who refers to culture as a system of conventions and expectations that demarcate who we are and govern what people like us do. It's a system that carves out our identity, our personhood in the social world in which we cohabitate, and identifies what's acceptable and what's expected of people like us. And therefore, because of who we are, we see the world a certain way and navigate life accordingly.
Okay, so bearing that in mind, thank you for setting the stage, making the playing field level. How does that culture and vibing with a candidate and social media affect voters and how we vote?
Sure. Well, culture is the governing operating system for humanity, and social media is the media of people. And therefore, we find ourselves in community, in conversation, in discourse with our people, with people like us. And not only do we choose people who are like us, who subscribe to the same cultural characteristics, but we tend to find ourselves voting for people who are expressions or manifestations of our cultural subscription. So we vote in ways that are aligned with who we are and how we see the world. So the conversations that are happening with people like us, our people, are creating what those expectations are of people like us.
Right.
And then we vote for the people who are saying the things and are reflections of what people like me believe and how we ultimately see the world.
Okay, how are the current candidates trying to vibe with voters, and who was a politician who did it successfully in the past?
Well, I mean, the more savvy candidates focus on those ideological, culturally rooted issues, points of view they have about the world. And as I'm about to say brands, but in many ways, candidates are, as branded people communicate their point of view of the world, people go, that's my girl or that's my guy, because they are extensions of who these people are and how they see the world. When I think about the candidates who've done this best, I mean, in modern times, Barack Obama completely changed how we think about candidates going to market because he communicated a point of view. He believed that the country had cynicism, that we thought the government was broken. So he ran on hope. Yes, we can. And people who saw the world similarly said, that's my guy. Similarly, 2016, Donald Trump says, hey, we've gone too far. We need to go back to where we were. We need to make America great again. People who believe that said, that's my guy. Today, we have Kamala Harris saying, no, we can't live in the past. We have to move forward. And freedom is our way forward. Her interpretation of freedom through a contemporary zeitgeist, people go, that's my candidate. It's because of ideological connection that we vibe with the candidate and say, that's the person that's going to get my vote because they are extensions of who I am and how I see the world.
To that point, and both Barack Obama, Donald Trump, both use social media, I think, really, really effectively.
Oh, yeah.
And going back to this idea of that I'm going to vibe, that's my guy, that's my gal, that's my somebody, aren't we curating something that's just an echo chamber? Do you not think that it creates more divisiveness? Because my child, who's 18, who's about to vote in his first presidential election, he has said, all I see is this. And I said, well, you need to start following Latinas for a different candidate or so-and-so for a different candidate to become more well-rounded. So is this just creating more of an echo chamber, more of the same thing, and making it more siloed?
Well, I think that your perspective is spot on in that, having disparate and diverse perspectives allows us to see the world more vividly. The truth of the matter is that our entire social lives are all echo chambers. If you are a conservative, it's unlikely that you have liberal friends, right? If you hold certain points of view about the world, you typically have people who are like you. We call it homophily, self-loving, homophily, self-loving. So by nature, we have echo chambers in our social groups. Social networking platforms and technologies are merely extensions of human behavior, as Marshall McLuhan would say. Therefore, just like glasses are extensions of the eyes, wheels are extensions of the foot, social networking platforms are extensions of our real life social networks. Those are our people. So we're hearing things over and over and over in our news feeds, just like we used to 20 years ago,
Right, with the
30
ad
years
campaigns,
ago,
right.
hear it from our people at school.
Right. I feel like we just scratched the
Oh, my
surface. Can
gosh.
you come back
Much
after the
deeper.
election?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Please, have me. Let's do this.
Fantastic. Dr. Collins, thank you so much.